How can a person weigh more than 500 kilograms? This isn't just a number. It's a reality once lived by Carol Yager, the heaviest woman ever officially recorded in history. Her extreme weight not only made her a unique medical case, but also a symbol of the devastating effects of severe obesity. From a very young age, her body defied all limits. As the years passed, her weight became a living prison, leaving her completely immobile and dependent on others to perform any activity. But Carol didn't just break records for her weight. She also made headlines for her incredible ability to lose over 200 kilograms in just 3 months without surgical intervention, something that remains a medical mystery to this day. Despite her struggle to survive, the complications from her condition led to a tragic fate. The big question is, how did she get to this point? Was it just genetics, or was there something more behind her extreme weight gain? Today we'll explore the shocking and heartbreaking story of Carol Yager, the woman who challenged the limits of obesity and whose life remains an unprecedented medical case. Carol Yager's story didn't begin with extreme weight. From a young age, her body showed signs that something wasn't right. She was born in Michigan in 1960, and from her earliest years, her weight increased at an alarming rate. While other kids her age ran and played without issues, Carol struggled to move and tired easily. From the age of 5, doctors began to notice that her obesity was not normal. Her mother tried to put her on strict diets and change her eating habits, but her body seemed to retain weight for no apparent reason. By the age of 10, she already weighed over 100 kilograms, and over time, her growth only accelerated. But her obesity was not just a physical problem, it was also emotional. From elementary school, she was the target of mockery and rejection, which deeply affected her self-esteem. While her classmates enjoyed sports and social activities, she was forced to stay on the sidelines, unable to participate. She tried to live a normal life, but her weight was always a barrier. As she grew, her problems only got worse. By the age of 20, her weight had surpassed 250 kilograms, but she could still move with assistance. However, even basic tasks took more and more effort. Dressing, walking long distances, using public transportation, or finding clothes in her size became daily challenges. Society's judgment also weighed heavily on her. The stares, cruel comments, and discrimination made her avoid leaving the house. Although she tried to lose weight many times, her metabolism seemed to work against her. Doctors recommended strict diets, but her body didn't respond like others. Each failed attempt pushed her deeper into despair. Over time, her relationship with food became emotional. Eating gave her a sense of relief, but at the same time, it was the source of her suffering. She tried to socialize, but it became increasingly difficult. Public spaces weren't designed for someone her size, and little by little, she stopped going to family gatherings and meeting with friends. By the time she was 30, her weight had surpassed 400 kilograms, and her independence diminished day by day. At this point, her legs could no longer support her weight, and movement became impossible. She needed help for everything: eating, cleaning herself, even changing position in bed. Slowly, her world shrank to the walls of her home. Her family and friends supported her, but seeing her in that condition was heartbreaking. They tried to motivate her to seek help, but the available treatments were ineffective in her case. She sought medical assistance, but in the 1980s, there were no treatments designed for such extreme cases. With no options, her weight continued to rise uncontrollably, until finally, her body said enough. Carol Yager's weight never stopped increasing. As the years passed, her body grew larger, heavier, and harder to move. At some point, her metabolism seemed to have completely collapsed. It was no longer just about diet or exercise. Her weight had surpassed 500 kilograms, making her the heaviest woman ever recorded in history. But the most terrifying part wasn't the number. It was how her body became her own prison. At age 34, Carol completely lost the ability to walk. Her legs could no longer support her, and doctors warned that trying could cause fatal fractures. From that moment on, she was confined to her bed. Her world was reduced to 4 walls and a mattress. She couldn't get up, couldn't go out, couldn't do anything without help. From then on, she depended on others for absolutely everything. Her family, friends, and a few caregivers became her hands and feet. They brought her food, cleaned her, and helped her shift positions to prevent bed sores. But it got harder and harder. Everyday objects weren't designed for someone her size. Mattresses broke under her weight. Chairs couldn't support her. Doorways were too narrow to move her out of her room. Carol wasn't just trapped in her body anymore. She was trapped in her home. For her loved ones, seeing her in that state was devastating. Her parents and siblings tried to be her support, but they didn't know how to help. Watching her fight her own body every day broke their hearts. "I want to get out of here. I want to walk again," she told her mother. But the reality was that there was no way out. Medical authorities weren't prepared for a case like hers. Ambulances couldn't transport her. There were no hospital beds strong enough to support her. Doctors visited her at home, but the only solution they offered was lose weight. A nearly impossible task when she couldn't move, and her metabolism was out of control. Her mother and friends desperately sought help. They contacted doctors, hospitals, even specialized obesity programs. But the answer was always the same. Her case was too complicated. Frustration grew day by day. Carol kept gaining weight, and no one had an answer. While the world moved on, Carol remained stuck in the same place. Television became her window to reality. Books were her only way to travel beyond her room. She dreamed of getting her life back, but her body had other plans. Each day her heart had to work overtime to pump blood through her massive body. Her lungs struggled to oxygenate an increasingly large and heavy organism. Her skin began developing infections. Pressure sores multiplied. Visits to her home became less and less frequent. Not because her family didn't love her, but because watching her suffer was unbearable. The emotional impact was brutal. Carol faced constant episodes of anxiety and depression. Many nights she cried in silence, not knowing if she would wake up the next day. Despite everything, Carol never lost hope. She knew that as long as she was alive, there was still a chance. But the big question was there really anything that could save her? For Carol Yager, every day was a battle. Her extreme weight not only limited her mobility, but triggered a series of medical issues that put her life at risk. Her heart had to work twice as hard to pump blood through her body. Her lungs struggled to expand, causing episodes of respiratory failure. But the most serious issue was skin infections. Her prolonged immobility caused pressure sores on her back and legs, which gradually turned into open wounds. Unable to move, these wounds didn't heal, and the infected skin spread rapidly. The pain was unbearable. Every movement was torture. Doctors warned that if they couldn't reduce her weight, her body could collapse at any moment. The doctors decided to intervene. They needed to reduce her weight urgently. But there was a problem. Carol couldn't undergo surgery. Her size made any bariatric procedure unsafe. Even a hospital bed wasn't enough to support her. Her only option was an extreme diet supervised by specialists. The plan was drastic, a regime of fewer than 1,200 calories per day to force her body to use its fat reserves. It was a last desperate attempt to save her. And surprisingly, it worked. In just 3 months, Carol lost over 200 kilograms. It was one of the fastest weight losses ever recorded without surgery. But how was it possible? Doctors theorized that her body, entering a state of metabolic crisis, burned an extreme amount of fat in record time. However, this massive loss didn't bring the expected relief. Her skin hung in large folds, her energy was depleted, and her body was too weak to stand. Her heart, already damaged from years of excessive strain, began to fail. Doctors tried to stabilize her with medication, but her body didn't respond. Her family watched helplessly as her condition worsened day by day. The infection in her skin spread quickly, reaching internal organs. Her fever spiked out of control, and within weeks, Carol was on the brink of collapse. Even though she had achieved something remarkable, the damage was already done. Her body was so deteriorated that her days were numbered. And then, the moment everyone feared arrived, on July 6, 1994, Carol Yager died at age 34 in a Michigan hospital. Complications from her extreme weight, widespread infections, and organ failure ended her life. Her body simply couldn't take it anymore. Carol died surrounded by her family, but with a bittersweet feeling. She had managed to lose weight, but it was already too late. At a peak weight of 544 kilograms, her case remains one of the most extreme ever recorded. But beyond the numbers, her story is a warning. Carol Yager's case is more than just a record in a book. It's the reflection of an alarming reality. Extreme obesity is not just an aesthetic issue, it is a deadly disease. Her story opened the debate about limited access to treatment for severe obesity and the lack of education about metabolic health. Experts believe that if she had received medical help earlier, her fate might have been different. In her final interview, Carol said she didn't want to be remembered as the world's fattest woman, but as someone who fought until the end. Since her death, many researchers have used her case to improve treatments for obesity. Doctors have acknowledged that, in her time, there weren't enough resources to manage cases like hers. Today, there are more options like surgery, hormone therapies, and personalized medical treatments. But there's still a long way to go. Extreme obesity remains a global problem, and her story reminds us how important it is to detect and treat it early. But now the question is for you. How do you think her life might have been different if she had received help in time? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If her story impacted you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more stories like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.